I'm very glad that I decided to wait until episode 5 to finally make my judgment on Sentenced to Be a Hero. And I thought it was going to be very similar to JJK, at least for me, of an anime I didn't really like that much. It's pretty mid in my opinion. There's going to be a video on that pretty soon, but everyone's raving about it. And I was like, damn, like I cannot have multiple hate. I can't be a hater, right? I can't have multiple animes that I absolutely fucking hate that are very popular, because then I'm going to look like a hipster and then my opinion's going to be uncredible. All right, so in this video, we're going to talk about what I don't like and what I didn't like about Sentenced to Be a Hero, and if that has changed for me in my final verdict on the anime. So the first thing that I didn't like was the characters. So I'm not a huge fan of like one-dimensional characters. I'm not a huge fan of very childish characters, and that, you know, unfortunately happens to be in one character, which is Tirieta, the goddess of swords. I'm sorry if I, pronounced that wrong, Tiarita. And I don't like kid characters, right? Because usually they're one-dimensional and they are very, I get just boring, right? So I did not like Tirieta because I thought she was just my knight, ooh, my knight, can we do this? And usually they're pretty fucking annoying, right? When a character acts the same exact way every single time and they have like the same dialogue and they're this very tropey like character where they kind of, just they're not really doing anything for the plot other than to get like a very straightforward point across. And I'm a more fan of like dynamic characters that have complex emotions and interesting motives, right? And act different in certain situations. And I will say so far that has not changed about Tirieta. I still do not like her as a character. I think she's kind of annoying. I think there are times where she is cute and she's funny like sometimes, but for the most part she is a net negative for the show, for me at least. Next, we're going to talk about Xylo, and my first thought on Xylo was another one-dimensional, quixotic character that has, one motive, and he has the same emotions pretty much every single time. And Xylo is a character that is disgruntled and soft-spoken and too cool for school, and that also still has not changed for me, okay? He is still a character that I don't necessarily like. I think his character design is good. I think he looks unique and he looks like a good main character, like someone that is easily recognizable. So I think they did a good job on that. Right now, I think he is a little bit too cool for school for me. It's just a very like bland, tasteless character that doesn't really have a whole lot of flair to him. I'm not saying I want my characters to be energetic, like too energetic, because I actually don't like characters like that either. I'm sorry, I really don't want to sound like a hater. But Xylo has not really moved the needle for me to make me like the show more than I did initially after 5 episodes. And then we're gonna talk about some characters that I actually did not like in the beginning that I really do like now. And those two will be the captain, the female captain. I don't know her name, Kivia, I think it is. And we're gonna talk about Your Highness. So I like them both for different reasons. Kivia is the captain of the Knights or something like that, one of the divisions. And like I told you guys, I don't really like quixotic characters. Quixotic is basically means that all of these characters are overly principled and they are overly like idealistic, basically. This is my dog Baxter. And so when you are first introduced to Kivia, she is very much like ooh, you're a hero, don't get the fuck away from me, don't touch me. And I don't like that, right? But in the very short time that we have seen her, she has had massive character progression where she actually is not as quixotic as I thought she was. She wasn't as overly honor bound as I thought she was, and we see her openly questioning the government and questioning what her initial thoughts are on heroes in the first 5 episodes. And I think that's great. I think that's awesome. It shows that she is a complex character, that she has changing motives, that she is not just there to push the plot, but she is there to enhance the plot. So I like that a lot. Now, my favorite character is Your Highness. This guy is legitimately fucking hilarious. He is the best character in the show. He is constantly like, you would think that a character that is very one-dimensional like him, right? He thinks he's a king, but he's not. You would think that would get old. It really doesn't. The way that he exists in the world and the way that he exists with other characters in the show is just so funny to me. You have no idea. Just every time he is in a scene, he just makes the scene. He is actually the number one reason why I like the anime way more than I did when I first watched it initially. Next, we're gonna talk about, oh my god, the graphics. So this is a very interesting conversation for me, because while I don't necessarily care about graphics, I liked Tower of God, and that had some of the worst graphics of all time. I like Invincible, and that has like some of the worst graphics like in animation history. So I don't necessarily care about graphics, but when the show was first introduced, they had great graphics in moments, right? And they kind of like skimped out on great graphics overall, which I'm okay with, right? Like they have some good. Baxter, go lay down, buddy. I am okay with bad graphics. And when the show was first introduced, they talked about good graphics, right? Oh, you know, the graphics are amazing. I love the fidelity. And in certain parts, the graphics are amazing, but a lot of the time they're really bad, right? So here's the thing. That first episode where it was an hour long and it looked like a movie, those graphics were absolutely insane. Since that time, we haven't really had a good graphical display in really any scene except for maybe one. I can't even think of it off the top of my head. But a lot of it is just Xylo throwing fucking swords at these like little demon things, and then they just explode, and it's like a pile of purple dust, and that is not good, right? That is not very enjoyable. And for me, I am a huge fan of a story. So I think if a story is captivating and I like the show enough, I will ignore the graphics. I will say I don't like this show enough to ignore the graphics. So I think they need to do a better job of actually either improving the story or improving the graphics. Because if they don't improve either, I don't foresee myself picking up this show for very long. Because we're going to talk about it right now. What I really didn't love in episode 1 was the story, right? Like, so me personally, you guys obviously don't know me. I have a small channel here, 195 subscribers. If you guys want to sub, that'd be great. Get me to 500, at least get me monetized, so my girl will, at least, not make fun of me for having this, right? Having this channel and voicing my opinion out to the wind. But I'm a writer, so I really care. I haven't written a whole book yet, but I'm in the process of writing my first book. But my entire life, I've been obsessed with like good stories, good narrative, good character design. I've watched tens of thousands of hours of video essays discussing the topics of random characters in cinema history, right? Random stories, whatever. And there's a lot of holes in this story so far, and obviously they haven't explained it yet. But what I've come to find is a lot of the time whenever you have a show that puts action in the forefront, it makes the action, like I would say, the primary focus. Most of the time, it's not really gonna have a great story. I mean, just off the top of my head, some of my favorite, like One Piece is very, very slow in the beginning and it has a fantastic story. Your Lie in April is one of my favorite animes. Very slow in the beginning, has a fantastic story. Even Tower of God, right? I love that fucking anime, even though the graphics are terrible. Very slow in the beginning, has a really interesting story. I really like it. But when we get to this story in particular, what happens is we are introduced basically to these heroes in an action scene. So we get to watch them fight, which is really cool. We get to watch how they orchestrate themselves in battle, but they are pretty much focused on battle almost the entire time. They haven't really delved into the backstory at all. And the parts that they did reveal about the story, I don't really think it's that intriguing to me or that captivating. I think the only thing that I really am interested about in this story is the corruption of the government. And I don't even know if they're going to go into this in detail, but I'm very interested to hear the psychology behind the heroes, because from my understanding, they live forever, right? I mean, they just keep being reborn into new bodies to basically fight. So I'm very interested in seeing the psychology behind that the most, actually. And I'm very curious to see if they're actually going to dive into that topic in particular. So my overall thoughts on this anime is it at times has really great graphics and graphical fidelity. It has smooth animations at times when it really wants to. I think its characters are mostly unlikable. I think that its story is just intriguing enough for me to tune into it every single week. And I think that the overall quality of the anime is just good enough to have it as a show that is like a fun watch every week, right? Like, it's not something that I think is going to be highly regarded in the history books, and in 10 years we're going to be like, remember Sentenced to Be a Hero? I think it's going to be one of those animes that gets lost and forgotten in time. But for now, I'm enjoying the ride. I am going to tune into it. I might, depending on how the channel goes. I'm very interested in streaming overall like episodes and me reacting to episodes and chapters for manga, as well as just talking about other things like that. So we'll see how far I want to take this show. I could drop it after season 1 depending, but for now, subscribe to the channel. Let me know y'all's thoughts too. I'm very interested in hearing it because I haven't heard much about this show other than Moist Critical. So yep, enjoy the rest of my videos if you guys just found me, and peace.